1, 2. Another 2 approach, and one more joins them holding a candle. One leaves, and another small one takes their place. Ever since the beginning of the season of Heroes, Shouto had been patiently watching as Sky Kids ventured through the realm, completing quests and collecting expressions and gifts from the season's spirits. Shouto also had blessings to bestow upon wandering children of light, being a spirit himself, and nothing made him more satisfied than the delighted honks and whistles from the children. He had a story to tell, and there were creatures who were willing to listen. Although, as the season dragged on, fewer and fewer children seemed to care for his tale. They skipped through what he has to say, only passing by to retrieve candles, cosmetics, props. It thoroughly disappointed him, though he didn't show it. The season of Heroes was meant to inspire the children that anyone can be a hero, and whether you win or lose, you can always come out ahead by learning from experience. But it seemed that the moral of the season flew by children's heads, and Shouto couldn't do anything to stop it. Different children run the realm in various ways, and he was just another seasonal spirit passing through. He sighed. Another day has passed, and not many children are active at this time. Shouto was thankful for the silence of the night, though he wished he could see how his fellow spirits were doing during the season. But he had to remain where he was, to await yet another child of light that wished to obtain what he had to offer. But what sleep-deprived child would visit at the dead of night? "Hello there." Shouto had let his guard down, thinking he was alone, that he jumped when he heard an unfamiliar voice. A figure appeared from behind him, hands innocently tucked away behind their back as their mask gleamed with a friendly aura. After regaining his composure, he greeted them with a nod of his head, preparing to recite his story one more time. But to his surprise, they held out a hand to stop him. "Before you go on, perhaps you're hungry, or thirsty, or both?" they inquired. "Might I interest you in some tea?" He blinked. Strange, he thought. Spirits didn't necessarily need sustenance whatsoever, but he had no say when the peculiar child of light already constructed a tea set right in front of him. They had taken off their mask and kindly gestured to the seat across them, where a steaming cup of tea was already settled. They were persistent, yet hospitable, and seeing as there were no other children wandering about the realm, he was willing to indulge. One could never turn down a warm cup of tea. The child giggled in delight when Shouto sat down, taking the tea into his hands as he took a quiet sip. "You may continue what you were saying," they said, also taking a sip of their own drink. Shouto paused for a moment, letting the warmth of the tea settle before he went on about his tale. As he told his story, the child across from him listened attentively, nodding along to every word he spoke, whilst adding the occasional question or comment. Shouto felt a sense of relief that someone, amongst the candle-running and cosmetic-collecting children, was empathetic enough to lend an ear. But he stopped. "Is everything all right?" the figure of light asked. Shouto only sighed. "Why do you listen? Won't you just run off after I tell my story? Why not just get it over with?" He was exasperated, to say the least. After holding on to the hope that a child would give him the time of day to listen, it quickly faded once they got what they wanted, disappearing deeper into the realm. There was a brief silence as the child let the information sink in, taking a long sip before sighing. "I listen because I care about what you say. Truth be told, I've been watching you since the beginning of the season." Shouto raised a brow. "Not in that way, mind you." They took another sip, possibly to hide their embarrassment. "I've spoken to the other hero spirits, and they spoke well of you. They also wanted me to send you their regards." The spirit couldn't help but give a small grin. It was good to know that Deku and the others thought of him, despite being presumably busy in their own designated realms. Also, if I'm being honest, as more days pass, you look more troubled. I care for your story, don't get me wrong, but I'd be more than happy to listen to whatever else is on your mind.
And why should I burden you with my concerns?
He said rather assertively, but the Child of Light only smiled. They stowed away the now empty cup, bringing all their attention to him with forbearing eyes. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I want to be your friend. The request caught him by surprise. Why would a Sky Kid want to befriend a spirit, never mind a seasonal spirit, one who has a limited amount of time before he has to return to his own realm?
Why do you want to befriend me?
He asked, evidently baffled. The child responded without missing a beat. It seems to be lonely standing out by yourself. I thought I could keep you company. They held no ill intent, Shouto gathered, just patience and empathy as they quietly waited for him to respond.
Could you have the freedom to roam different realms? And besides, other sky children keep me company.
Do they actually talk to you? I mean, actually have a conversation? Now that he thought about it, he never really sat down with any of the children and had a proper exchange. He didn't know any of the names of the wanderers he met, nor did he open up enough to share something other than the same old tale. Spirits weren't known to share anything other than what they were meant to, and that made the days he spent all the more bleak. This truly was a strange Child of Light. But maybe, just maybe, this was what he was lacking. Company. Proper company. Not just the brief moments of children approaching and leaving just as quickly, but a chance to make his rather empty life as a seasonal spirit more tolerable. He finally spoke.
Shouto. That's what the other spirits call me. My name.
His voice was just above a mumble, laced with mild embarrassment at having not opened up to any Sky Kid until now. The child's questioning glance brightened to a smile, introducing themselves as well. It's a pleasure to meet you, Shouto. As the days passed and the season of heroes continued, Shouto resumed his duties of a seasonal spirit, but the feeling of loneliness slowly subsided as his new companion returned after every adventure through the world of Sky. They shared their stories with him, and Shouto, after opening up with the help of his friend, returned the gesture by sharing his experiences with other traveling children. On livelier days, the child would arrive hand in hand with other Sky Kids, and they would introduce their friends to Shouto as the group danced the daylight away. And during the quieter nights, they would bring their tea set, an umbrella, and an instrument as they played the familiar music Shouto recognized, the duo enjoying the sound of rain and the warmth of each other's company. The world around him slowly grew in color and music, the once isolated spirits surrounded by laughing children. He learned to treasure the limited time he spent in this realm, and though the thought of leaving once the season was over saddened him, he held on to the hope of returning, and the hope that his new friend will be there to welcome him back.